take it slow.
Hey, what's up guys? One Wicked Supra here, doing another update video. As you guys can tell, I'm inside. I'm not outside like the last video, which was filmed in the end of summer. And now it's the middle of winter, so being in New England, you know, it gets really cold. So I'm lucky enough to have a storage spot for the car. So it's not exposed to the, you know, outside elements, snow and rock salt and all that crap. So yeah, here she sits. I haven't really done much to the car. It's not the real exciting stuff that I've been doing to it in the past couple of years because I'm honestly just trying to get the car in a state where I can drive it and it can be reliable. So that's kind of like the vision. And then after that, I can proceed to maybe building the engine or putting a Ford Mustang rear end in it or getting rid of the power steering. Or, you know, Brembo brakes upgrade, bodywork, paint, all that stuff, all that fun stuff, wheels, which I'm going to do to the car. Maybe not everything I just said, but that's the stuff I'm considering. But before I can get there, I have to get the car to a point where I can drive it. You know, I can go out and drive it, and it can be reliable. I kind of have to build off that. And it really hasn't been reliable. So it has its issues, obviously, as you guys know. The last video, the car, the brakes, the pedal went to the floor. So that was the first issue I wanted to fix, obviously, because it's brakes, you know, they're definitely, it's definitely an important part of your car. And what it ended up being was the master cylinder, the brand new one. It was a cheap one, but it was brand new. It was messed up. It wasn't working. So I literally threw it out. Brand new, didn't have a warranty or anything, and I spent the $250 on a Toyota one, a real Toyota one. Obviously that fixed that. I literally threw it on and the brakes are solid, like they're perfect. So that was awesome. That was an easy fix. The next thing that I'd been putting off that was actually an issue was, so I took the car out for a pull a while back. As you guys know, I was having issues with the wastegate springs, so I pretty much got it back from the tuner. So I brought it to the first tuner, and he said the car was making too much boost. He said he let off at like 22 PSI or something, which is a lot for pump gas. So he swapped out the wastegate springs and he put in 6 PSI springs, and the car made 6 PSI. And the car was slow. So I put in 18 PSI springs. That's really what you want a pump gas car to make. That's a really healthy boost level. And the car was hitting boost cut. It would pull really hard and then shut off at like 4,000 RPM. So that was a problem. So I data logged that, and the car was making more than 18 PSI. I was making like 22, 23 whenever boost cut hit, maybe 24. So I was trying to figure out why I was doing that. So I swapped out the springs back to like 12 PSI springs, and the car was making 20, 21 on 12 PSI springs. Now I have a boost controller. It's turned all the way down, so I don't think it's that, but I kind of just went with it. 20 PSI was awesome. The car was fast, probably around 550 to the wheels. The car really, really pulls hard. And actually the first time I did a pull, because I was expecting it to hit boost cut, so I kind of just went out with the 12 PSI springs and just gunned it. And it pulled really hard. It spun the tires in like second gear, and the car jerked to the side really aggressively. It was kind of scary. And I didn't do a pull again until I got in alignment. And I brought the car to get in alignment to a local alignment shop. They're called Scotty's Tire. It's a great alignment shop. They did a great job. And car's straight as an arrow now, so it will spin the tires, but it just pulls nice and straight. So since then, done a couple pulls. I'll throw a pull video in for you guys that I did in Mexico on a closed course. It's fully CGI animated too, so it's actually, you guys can check it out. I'll throw it in. So the car pulls nice, straight, brakes are awesome, and the car drives super smooth. So, I mean, that's huge progress. But that's not to say that it doesn't have, its fair share of issues before I can actually be comfortable like driving in places. Everywhere I've driven has been right near my house. So, um, yeah, I mean, I guess the rundown, what's next, what I need to do to this car before next season. Quite a few things. So, yeah, first off, we'll start with, so I bought this steering wheel. It looks like a 98 steering wheel, which are like $500, a 98 Supra steering wheel, but it's actually a Toyota Corolla S steering wheel, like a 2005 Toyota Corolla or something. Pretty much the same steering wheel. It's a little bit thicker, stitching's different, and it has like the perforated leather right here, like the Celicas do. But I was told it fits the Supra, and it does. It does fit. It looks really nice, but the only problem is this construction of the steering wheel is a little different. So that's a 98 airbag on there, and what happens is the airbag grounds against the steering wheel, so the horn constantly goes off when you hit it. You just hit it, and the horn just goes off, and you can't stop it. So as you can imagine, that was quite frustrating. And so yeah, I unplugged the horn, so the car doesn't have a horn right now. Which, I mean, I could just give people a rev, I guess. But, if I want to get an inspection sticker, I want a horn. So I ordered a steering wheel. It's a 98 steering wheel, a real one. It's carbon fiber. It's really rare. I got it for a good price. It's coming from Russia, though. So it's been like 2 months, and it's shipping. It's just going to take a really long time. So I'll put that on, and I'll get rid of that Corolla steering wheel. I only paid like $50 for it, so it's not a big deal. I'll probably sell it, but yeah, I got that to deal with. So I can get the horn working, and then the blinkers don't work. None of them. So the front, it doesn't have any front blinkers at all. They're just non-existent. So the Supra's had like different blinkers between the years. So I think these are 98 blinkers on here. It's a 98 bumper. And I ordered a harness to adapt the 98 blinkers to a 95 Supra. It's a harness. It's sold by MVP Motorsports, I think. And so I'm going to modify. I have to mess with all the wiring with the headlights and everything. And then I also got side marker pigtails, so I'll have side markers. So hopefully I'll be able to figure out the blinkers and the side markers, and the headlights, the high beams, the brake lights, all that stuff works. So all the lighting will work, which will be awesome. I'm going to get like a generic eBay washer pump so that I can clean the windshield. That would be cool. That's not a big deal. So, I mean, as you guys can tell, it's all little stuff, but it's stuff that you like need to drive. So that's the little stuff. The big stuff is, so the car still has its issues with tuning and whatnot, not necessarily tuning, but just how it runs. So the first issue being it idles weird sometimes, especially when it warms up. So it'll start loping and it'll bog. So if you're at a red light and you rev it and the RPMs come down, the car will almost stall. And then sometimes if you're coming from slowing down, the engine's kind of loading down, and you just put the clutch in, the car will stall out. It can't like recover, you can't take load off the engine really fast without it stalling. So that's obviously an issue. My tuner's really good. And everything he's been saying has been true, so I trust him. And what he's said about that is, there's a couple things that could be wrong with the car. I think I have a boost leak or vacuum leak. So I'm gonna check for that. I bought a vacuum leak tester. So I have to figure that out. That could be why it's idling weird. And then, before the tuner wants to make any changes, he wants me to fix that. So I gotta fix that. And then I also have to fix the variable valve timing. It's not working. So I'm gonna check that, probably the VVTi solenoid or something. Hopefully not the cam gear or anything like that. And I need to replace the cam sensor. So I bought like a cheap cam sensor, and apparently the readings are still off. It's either that or it's reading accurately and something wrong with the variable valve timing, but obviously the cam sensor is like $30. So I'm gonna buy a Toyota cam sensor and throw that on. And so I have to deal with that, and hopefully that'll straighten out all the driving issues, idling issues, and all that stuff. And then after that we have leaks. So I mean, the car wasn't running for years. So obviously I expected it's going to have a lot of issues. I mean, I'm just excited I can drive and do pulls with it, but next season, you know, I want it to be a legit car, like I said. So yeah, the next thing is leaks. So it may have a slow oil leak. I'm not really sure. I've seen a couple drips before, but I haven't really I'm not completely sure if it's oil because it's so minimal. Like it'll literally be like one little drop. So I can't really find if there's any leaks or anything. So the next thing that I think it's leaking is coolant. Well, I know it's leaking coolant actually because when you look under the car here, there's a massive puddle of coolant that I actually just found out about tonight. I kind of see it, so that's all coolant. It's really obvious because it's red. And yeah, I have a pan under that now. But that's a huge, that's a huge coolant leak. Like, that's a lot of coolant. So I'm not that concerned with it because it's just coolant. I have a coolant pressure tester I'm going to use. It's probably coming from a hose. Or something, so I have to figure that out. Obviously, I don't want it to be leaking anything. It was leaking oil at one point pretty bad when it was running, and we changed the rear main seal, and it doesn't do that anymore. So I really hope it's not leaking oil again. But, you know, whatever, I'll deal with what I got to deal with. Yeah, the other thing is the clutch. I need to adjust the clutch. It engages a little too early, and it doesn't disengage fully. So that's not a big deal, but a couple times it was starting to grab while I was stopped and I had the clutch pedal fully in. So, yeah, I have to mess with that. And yeah, I think that's really it off the top of my head. Everything else is working really well. I mean, there's other little stuff with the interior, like the gauge lights don't work, but, you know, obviously I'm going to fix that, but not really that concerned with that stuff. I'm going to go through the interior and redo the audio system and everything at some point. So, but yeah, so that's the next step. That's what I'm going to be doing to this car. And hopefully that will enable me to go out and drive the thing a lot more and make some more interesting videos. You know, like going to car shows or doing burnouts or going the drag strip or races and, you know, stuff I wanted. I mean, it's a Supra. That's the stuff you want to do as a Supra owner. So doing two-step, just being obnoxious. The car has two-step too. I have to wire that. That's not a big deal. So yeah, a lot of stuff to look forward to, obviously, with the channel. And, oh yeah, one more thing. So yeah, a couple times when I shut the car off, there'd be or when I shut the car off, let it sit, and I turned it back on, there'd be a big puff of smoke. I think I may have to get a turbo timer. I mean, I usually let the car idle for a little bit, but it may be something like that, like let the turbo cool down or let the oil kind of go through the turbo. But it seems like there's oil's not draining properly from the turbo or something like that, and it's burning. Or you guys can comment any suggestions, but basically, if I park the car, let it sit for a couple days, I turn it back on, it's almost like there's oil, I see oil go out. I hope it's not like, you know, a serious engine issue, but haven't really done a lot of research on that. But it's done that for a while. I don't really seem to lose oil, so I don't think it's like huge major issue, but, you know, it's something I've noticed. You know, you see a little puff of smoke when you start it, so it's another thing I got to investigate. But yeah, I mean, a lot of progress has been made, obviously. I mean, I'm driving the car now, so you guys remember when it wasn't even close to being drivable. And here it is, you know, we're talking about, you know, washer fluid pumps and coolant leaks and all this stuff that, you know, they're issues, but they're issues I kind of like to have because, you know, the car has an engine and you can turn it on, you can drive it. So, yeah, the interior, just cleaned it. Battery's out of the car, so nothing has power, but interior's looking really nice. So, yeah, I mean, I just got to fasten a couple things. Glove box, got to fasten that. And then we got to get an airbag for there. Speaker, tweeter grills, and just little stuff. But the interior looks really nice. I'm really happy with that. So, yeah, that's the update. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to comment. If you have any suggestions on dealing with any of the issues I said, you know, there's quite a few issues, obviously, then yeah, let me know. I'm open to help, and I'd love to hear you guys' advice. make sure you guys follow me on Instagram, One Wicked Supra. I'm going to try to be better about posting, a little bit more updates as I do stuff. And I'm always on there. Feel free to shoot me a message or comment on the stuff or anything. I try to get back to everybody and talk to everybody. And yeah, thanks for watching. Make sure you're subscribed.